Nah, dude, it's always the randomest stories coming out of the randomest places in the offseason, because today we are going over the guy whom I think most people would label as the biggest bust in the entire 2010s worth of NHL hockey. Nobody has gone out there and completely diverged from their expectations in a negative way than this guy. Okay, you could maybe label a few other guys that did end up performing very poorly after being top prospects in their drafts. Olli Levy comes to mind, but there's a little bit of a difference when you're taken 5th overall versus when you are taken at the very first spot in the 2012 NHL Entry Draft. Today, we are going over former Oiler, former Avalanche, former NHL superstar-to-be, and inevitable bust, Nail Yakupov. Okay, yeah, what's in the news with Yakupov today? Well, I'll tell you what's in the news here. Nail Yakupov is 30 years old, and his contract in the KHL, playing for Nail Yakupov, it expired. So he's currently a free agent, he doesn't have a home in the hockey world, and he's coming off of a season in the KHL where he had scored 19 points in 31 games played. Nail Yakupov, of course, had a really good rookie season in the NHL, the shortened 2012-2013 year where he had 31 points in 48 games played. That was when he was a first overall pick. He was still eligible to play at the World Juniors. He was over a point per game there. He was the best Russian prospect in years. I think since, Evgeny Malkin, they said, or something crazy like that. But either way, Yakupov was first overall, one of the many first overall picks the Oilers had in that 2010s-ish era. Taylor Hall, Yakupov, Nugent Hopkins, McDavid. And Yakupov was the worst by far. There were issues with his work ethic, there were issues with his defensive play, and his offense didn't really blossom at all as his career continued into the NHL, eventually fading away with the St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche before leaving the National Hockey League to go to the KHL with SKA St. Petersburg. There, he played 2 seasons before going over to a bunch of other teams. He was with Avangard Omsk for a few years, and then he had the Nail Yakupov season this most previous year. But now, the reason Yakupov is in the news today is because there was a video circulating on social media where you had yourselves NHL superstar Andrei Svechnikov training in Russia. And yeah, Andrei Svechnikov is a very good NHL player, Carolina Hurricanes guy. He's 24 years old, same draft class that I'm in. And he is one of the better young Carolina players, near point per game season this previous year, and a maximum capacity, I would say, of being like a 90-point caliber player if he just doesn't get injured. Either way, Svechnikov was training in the offseason, and you can see that the guy who is feeding him the passes is decked out in Colorado Avalanche gear. Turns out, the person who is passing the puck over to Svechnikov is Nail Yakupov. And there was a tweet made here on social media by UG that just kind of pokes fun at it, saying, hey, Nail Yakupov is Andrei Svechnikov's new personal coach. And a lot of the replies go out there and say, okay, yeah, I mean, Yakupov has no business being a coach. I don't know about Yakupov being a coach. Goes from uncoachable to coach, as the saying goes. You become them if you can't beat them. What does Yakupov know about commitment and hard work? You know, a lot of people still have a sour taste in their mouths of what Nail Yakupov was at the NHL level. But after all of this went down, there was a conversation made on social media by the Instagram page The Mug NHL. Now, I have no idea who it is that runs this account or the legitimacy of what's going on here, but they make posts about the NHL, they post score updates of the Hlinka Gretzky Cup and a bunch of other updates throughout the season, but in an article published on the website bladeofsteel.com, there actually was a screenshot of a conversation made with this Instagram account where they said this: in regards to the Nail Yakupov rumors as of late, I continue to hear he may sign an NHL PTO closer to training camp. However, a return to the KHL is not out of the question yet. So yeah, there's a lot of setup to that, but essentially the entire point of this video is there are some people out there on the interwebs talking about the idea of a Nail Yakupov NHL comeback. And it checks out because he technically is a free agent right now. He doesn't have anywhere he's committed to. It's why he's practicing with Andrei Svechnikov. It's why he's wearing Colorado Avalanche gear in the video. But now hearing some rumors that he might be in a spot where he could be wanting to come back to the NHL? Buddy. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. Okay, Nail Yakupov, if you do want to come back to the National Hockey League, I'll tell you this about KHL to NHL players. In the meantime, when it comes to random KHL dudes, anybody who is at the top of the league in the KHL who ends up going to the National Hockey League, nobody is guaranteed to continue being successful. You know, in the 23-24 season, the top KHL point producers were Nikita Gusev, Reid Boucher, Nikolai Goldobin, Jordan Wheel, Vladimir Kachov, Kirill Pilipenko, and Ryan Spooner. A bunch of these guys have played in the NHL before, but none of these guys were ever really good except for Nikita Gusev. Gusev had like 1 or 2 good years in New Jersey and then he kind of fizzled away. Everybody else, Reid Boucher, Goldobin, Wheel, Ryan Spooner, I don't want to say that they're bums, but they definitely weren't scoring at a point-per-game pace in the National Hockey League. They were far from that. Now, for Nail Yakupov, a guy who was significantly inferior to these top players, to only have 19 points in 31 games played, it doesn't spell anything good at all if you're trying to project Yakupov as an NHL talent. I mean, there were already so many issues about his game, from defensive responsibility to work ethic and engagement, that going over to the KHL in Russia is not going to help. Like, you thought the guy was lazy and lackadaisical defensively in the NHL? Just wait till he gets to the KHL, where the ice is bigger, the back-checking isn't as hard, and the style of game is a lot less on the rush and a lot more possession-based. You don't see KHL teams dump and chase the puck much. Instead, they go the old Russian 5 route. They take the puck back, they circle around, they try to regroup. I don't want to say it's like easier defensively, but you don't have to be as taxed. You don't have to back check as hard. It's not as physically demanding to be a defensively effective player in the KHL as a forward. So for Yakupov to have already exhibited poor defensive skills in the NHL, going over to the KHL is not going to help him in that respect. And now, after, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons in Russia, it's not like he's going to come back over to the NHL transformed as a brand new player. There's no way this guy is actually going to be good enough to play in the National Hockey League, and if I'm wrong, I will eat my hat. I will chomp it off, chew it all down, bit by boring bit, and just allow it to bathe in my stomach acid, eventually coming out at the end of the digestive system there. I'm going to eat my hat if Nail Yakupov becomes an NHL player next year. There's no way it's going to happen. And if it does happen, there's no way he's going to be good. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Nail Yakupov and the potential of him making an NHL comeback by signing an NHL PTO. Either that, or he stays in Russia, he signs a random contract with a random Russian team. I mean, look, the source that we're looking at isn't like the most verified thing. Of course, no disrespect to the folks over at the Mug NHL on Instagram, but that's just my immediate response to it, man. There's no way it happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.